Greg Ehrenberg here from Awesemo.com, and we are once again talking about PrizePicks and Saturday night's NBA slate. We've got a one-gamer between the Celtics and the Heat, one of the most important playoff games of the entire year with the series tied 1-1. These are some of my favorite props to pick for tonight's game. I'm starting us out here by taking Bam Adebayo over 8 rebounds, and I'm sure a lot of you probably just turned the video off because nobody wants to hear about overs for Bam Adebayo at this point in the playoffs. If you think he's been terrible as of late, you're right. It's because he's been terrible as of late. But I think we've gotten to a point where the props have just gotten too low on Bam Adebayo, and if you look at the projections we have over at Awesemo.com, some of the best looking props in our projections at PrizePicks do come on Bam Adebayo's overs, and the number one prop on the board, we have the over 8 Bam Adebayo rebounds hitting 78% of the time. We also have the over on points hitting 68% of the time. And I get he hasn't been aggressive. The usage hasn't been there, but 8 rebounds is a pretty low number for Bam Adebayo. If you look at even last game, he did put up 9 rebounds. Even if the offense wasn't there, he's still capable of pulling down rebounds. He's averaging about 10 over the course of the entire season, including the playoff run. So I think the prop is too low, and it's just an overreaction to some recent poor performances from Bam Adebayo. I'm trying not to read too much into it. I get that it's concerning, but I'm going to rely on our data here and go with Bam Adebayo over 8 rebounds. When you are signing up at PrizePicks for the first time, don't forget to use our promo code because you will get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. When you deposit $100 over at PrizePicks using the promo code Awesemo, they will add $100 to your account. That's all there is to it. Good way to help start building your bankroll over at PrizePicks. We are 2 games into the series, and we've seen 2 blowouts. As a result, some guys who typically play really big minutes have seen their playing time slightly limited in this series. Game 1, ultimately, the Heat only ended up winning that game by 11 points, but it was a 20-point game for a lot of it. The starters didn't finish the game. And then, of course, last game, that was a really one-sided affair where the starters really played limited minutes, hardly played the fourth quarter at all. So as a result, somebody like Jason Tatum only played 31 minutes. And this is also bringing down his prop projection in terms of fantasy score. So the over-under for fantasy points for Jason Tatum is set at 43. Now look at some of his recent results. Even in limited minutes last game, he scored 40.5 PrizePicks fantasy points. In game 1, he did play big minutes, although he didn't close the game. He finished with 55. Overall, Tatum's had a really good postseason, and more often than not, we've seen him around the 50 fantasy point mark. So I think this number is way too low on Tatum at 43, and I do think this is just a reaction of limited playing time in last game. As long as tonight is competitive, which it should be, the spread is only 6.5 points, I think we should see 40-plus minutes or so out of Jason Tatum. That should be enough for him to easily hit the over on his fantasy point prop. For the first time in the series, the Celtics are going to have a full rotation because we've seen guys in and out of the lineup in this series. Game 1, there was no Marcus Smart or Al Horford. Then game 2, Derek White was away from the team for personal reasons. And now everybody's together. And as a result, we're going to see the normal condensed Boston rotation, but guys like Grant Williams are going to see a slightly lesser role. So as a result, I like under 17.5 fantasy points for Grant Williams. We've seen him shoot the ball really well in the playoffs, but this is not a guy who's a good fantasy producer. Overall for the year, he's only averaging about 0.6 fantasy points per minute. And now with everybody back in the rotation, we're probably looking at under 30 minutes for Grant Williams. With all that in mind, I just don't think there's that much upside or his fantasy potential. The minutes are going to be down. There's less shots for him with everybody active and less usage available. So I like taking the under 17.5 for Grant Williams. This number is probably going to get adjusted down after this game when he plays a reduced role. But for now, short Grant Williams, take under 17.5 fantasy points. When you're playing these 3 props at PrizePicks, Bam Adebayo over 8 rebounds, Jason Tatum over 43 fantasy points, and Grant Williams under 17.5 fantasy points, there's a couple of different ways we could play them together over at PrizePicks. One is called the flex play, where you only have to hit 2 out of 3 of your entries to make some money. If you go 2 out of 3, you'll get 1.25 extra entry fee, but go 3 out of 3, there's still a little more upside and you get paid out 2.25 extra entry fee. But if you love all 3 of these props, or there's other props you also like, you want to select the power play. You go 3 out of 3 and you'll pay out 5x your entry fee. Also, don't forget to sign up using our promo code Awesemo. Get up to a $100 bonus match on your first deposit. Don't leave that free money on the table. Take advantage of our promo and let's build that bankroll.